Howdy folks, Justin here. I know normally on Sundays we do Sundays with Sandra. Sandra is sick right now, as am I. She is much sicker, however, and so we are going to take the weekend off from recording together because we're just not feeling great right now. But I wanted to do a video that I'm thinking about doing for a while. I'm going to try to do one of these every month or every couple months. I used to do more of them where I highlight a few cards that aren't seeing play or aren't seeing much play that I think are worth taking a look at. And our track record for this is pretty good. A few months ago, I brought up Cloudrest Illusionist. Dawnstar Healer has been one I've mentioned in the past. Uh, yeah, I just think there are a lot of, I think the game is balanced enough and the cards are balanced enough that there are a lot of cards that don't see play um, that are totally reasonable choices. I'm going to highlight three of them today, and I hope that you get a chance to play with them because I think there's some fun, powerful cards. We're going to start off with a green card that, again, sees some fringe play, but not a lot, and that is Green Pact Stalker for Magicka for a 3/4 guard. When you play it, it gets +2/+2 if there's a wounded enemy creature in the lane. This is very easy to trigger. And the only deck I ever see this in is in Scout. I'm sorry, not in Scout, is in Archer. But I think in Scout you can actually get a lot of mileage out of it too. I mean, think of ways to trigger this, right? At the very least, right, you're running Thieves Guild Recruit, which is an easy trade into something. Murkwater Witch, which is either an easy trade or some damage. Ungolem, easy ways to wound an enemy creature. Not to mention, less likely but still very possible cards like Charis Reaper, Curse, and of course Curse is generated by Murkwater Shaman. It's a very straightforward card, but I think the power level of this is really high. I mean, Scout already likes to run the 4 Magicka 4/4 that gets guard and +2/+2, and you hit 7 Magicka. That is a purple card. Um, but in some ways, this is both easier and more difficult to trigger. The upside, the Preserve of the Root, the upside to running Green Pact Stalker is that it's got game against early aggro decks immediately. Immediate board impact, which is something you definitely want in those matchups. The downside is it only becomes a 5/6 instead of a 6/6, but a 3/4 guard for 4 can mean the difference between winning the game and losing the game, whereas a 4/4 without guard, drop down onto the board for 4, can also mean the difference between winning and losing a game, but in the other direction. I think Green Pact Stalker's got a lot of great game. Obviously, it's fantastic in Archer as well, where you are running stuff like Skaven Pyromancer and the 1/1 for 1 with Prophecy that pings up an enemy Sharpshooter Scout, Rapid Shot. There's a lot of ways to trigger it in those colors. But I'm most impressed theoretically by it in Archer, and I think you could even make a case for this being the kind of card that a Monk control deck might run, just because you're also going to be running the Ungolem, the Thieves Guild Recruit, the Murkwater Witches, which are easy ways to trigger this. And, gaining control of the board is, of course, the objective in the early part of the game for a control deck. Green Pact Stalker, I think, has a lot of advantages over other 4-drops you might drop in terms of its power level and in terms of its guaranteed results. So I think that Green Pact Stalker is an underplayed card that is definitely worth a look. Next, we're going to look at a yellow card, a 2-drop, Ravenous Hunger. This card, again, sees fringe play. I play a copy of it in the Monastery of Despair list. It's in my new Crusader deck. It's a card I'm really pushing right now because I really think this card is underplayed. If you've been playing on a ladder the last couple seasons, you've probably seen a lot of this guy, a 4/1 for 4, or 4/1 for 2 with Prophecy. This is sort of the opposite, right? Like, the 4/1 for 4 with Prophecy is probably the most aggressive Prophecy trigger, right? Like, there's on no planet is that Prophecy a control, response to a more aggressive deck, although it may be used like that in some fringe situations. Ravenous Hunger is like the mirror, the control mirror of that card. Obviously, the more you play with decks with Ravenous Hunger, you find yourselves trying to set up situations where you drop it into the shadow lane opposing a creature. Um, and it does a great, it's really cool at one specific thing, which is uh, having your first rune broken and potentially getting a prophecy or just drawing a card, and then slamming this into the offending creature and gaining that life back. Because being at 29, but having your first rune broken and your opponent being at 29 and having all of his runes intact means you're ahead on resources, and being equal at life while being equal at life, which is a huge thing for a deck that's being a little more reactive. I think Ravenous Hunger is totally fine too, just as a way to contest any enemy 2-drop. There are no 2-drops in the game except for Murkwater Witch that this doesn't trade favorably with, um, unless they have Ward, of course. But the same decks running Ravenous Hunger are going to have access to execute abilities, so Ward not the biggest problem in the world. But Ravenous Hunger is fantastic. I mean, the ability for Ravenous Hungerer to not only gain you life, but also be a fantastic card to drop in the early game to trade against Fifth Legion Trainer, say, or the cards that your more traditional defensive 2-drops aren't going to be able to trade into, is unparalleled. I think it's a really strong card. I think it doesn't work in every yellow deck, but I think that it works in a lot more yellow decks than are currently playing it. So I expect to see me play Ravenous Hunger this season, just like you saw it in the Monk last season. I think it has a place in Control Mage where it rarely, if ever, sees play. I think the future of Control Mage is a more prophecy-oriented list, a little more aggressive potentially. But I think Ravenous Hunger belongs in some of those lists, and it's just not seeing any play. I think it's definitely got a spot in Monk Control. I think it's got a place in Altar Monk. I think you can make a case for it in a mid-range Pilfer list that was just trying to combo somebody out instead of just being more aggressive. And yeah, hopefully it's got a place in the Crusader list that I will be playing on camera on the ladder for the first time in 2 days, or whenever February 1st is. Let's check the calendar real quick. Yeah, 2 days. Okay, so that's my second card, Ravenous Hunger. Third card is another one that I've seen. I have seen this card played, but not very often. That card is Doomcrag Vampire. I was thinking about this card because somebody mentioned something about it in one of the comments on my channel, and here's the deal: it's a 4/4 for 6 with lethal. Not great stats, but this card in the right list could absolutely, absolutely allow a control deck to just dominate the board in a control on control or control on mid range, or even possibly in a mid range on mid range battle. And depending on what the meta looks like in a couple days when the new season starts, given that we just had our second balance patch in like 3 weeks, I think that coming out with a deck that runs Doomcrag Vampire in conjunction with either ping effects from strength, the 3/1 for 3 that pings a creature, deals 1 to it, or the 1/1 for 1 that deals 1, or Ash Servant even, or warded creatures in intelligence, or small charge creatures in red too, like Nord Firebrands. I think the I think there's a lot of potential there. I really had to think about this for a while. I threw together an arena deck recently where I had a Doomcrag Vampire and was just amazed at how many favorable trades I was able to make. You would have to. What I like about it, and what I like about these other two cards too a lot, is something that I look for when I'm looking for cards that I don't see a lot on the ladder that I'd like to see more of, either in my own decks or just played in general. And that is, how badly am I warping my list to accommodate this new tech, right? And I think Doomcrag Vampire is certainly the most warping of these three cards. I think Ravenous Hunger and Greenpack Stalker fit very easily into some decks that aren't running them. But I think Doomcrag Vampire does, I have to admit, does have a little bit of that. It sort of necessitates a little bit of warping. But I have to admit also that in my arena deck, I had no special ways to trigger this. I was playing Scout when I got the Doomcrag Vampire. I just was able to make incredibly favorable trades. And, if you don't have to come up with small creatures with charge or with ping abilities. You can also protect Doomcrag Vampire beyond guard creatures, and suddenly your 2/3 guard creatures, if you're playing Kvatch Soldier, you're playing a Spell Sword deck, are trading with Odahviing, right? Um, yeah, I think Doomcrag Vampire is underplayed. It's an incredibly powerful ability to allow anything on your side of the board in that lane to just trade into anything. I think Sorcerer is certainly an interesting place to put this card. I know that Sorcerer has a couple different lists that have been seeing a lot of play recently. I think that there are a couple lists that aren't seeing any play that are still reasonably playable. A control sorcerer, but I think that a sort of grindy ward sorcerer playing cards like a Doomcrag Vampire or two um, could be fantastic. Combos nicely, of course, with High King Emmerich, allowing High King Emmerich to basically be what Elena Banach wishes she was. um, Yeah, so that's a look at just three cards that I think are really strong, really powerful, that just are seeing virtually no play. Niche play. If you have suggestions for cards, go ahead and let me know. Um, we did hear on Reddit not too long ago through a developer stream on Twitch that there will be an announcement about expansion plans in the next month or 2 months. So hopefully soon enough, we'll have the opportunity to look at a whole bunch of new cards. But I think this season's going to be really exciting, both because of the new Stampede Sentinel that's coming out, and because these balance patches are keeping us all on our toes, and it's keeping the game live. I mean, here's the thing: I've been playing since May, and I still really enjoy building new decks and playing things I haven't done before, because the game is relatively well balanced. It's certainly far and away the best balanced CCG I'm currently playing. I recently got invited into the closed beta for Gwent, and I've played some Gwent, and it's a fun game, but it is. I can't claim it to be particularly balanced at the moment. It's still in closed beta though, so no disrespect to those people. Um, but I've played Hearthstone, I've played Magic. I mean, the standard Magic standard right now is just recently dealing with some bans too. But what Elder Scrolls has that none of these other games have is really responsive developers who are willing to make changes frequently, but not so frequently that it's confusing or off-putting, but just frequently enough that they're listening, and that nothing ever hasn't become stale for me. I've been playing for a long time with the same cards, frankly. So I'm ready for an expansion. Like, look at this. I have 14,645 soul shards, and I have basically every card. I have every legendary right now except for um, let's see. I have every legendary except for good old Nakreen the Dragon Priest, who I couldn't bring myself to craft again because I feel like that's one of the worst cards in the game. So I'm ready to craft some new cards. But in the meantime, I'm excited about playing some cards I've never played with before because I think they're good. Alright, I will see you all on the ladder. I hope you're looking forward to the debut of our new Crusader deck, and I hope you're having a great weekend. Bye-bye.